Our world is filled with numerous mysteries that stir the minds of researchers, archaeologists, and ordinary people alike. Many of these mysteries have remained unsolved for years, if not centuries. But fortunately, sometimes the scientific elite manages to find answers to questions that intrigue everyone. Hello, you're on the NSK Show channel, and today I'll talk about 8 mysteries that have finally been solved. The Lycurgus Cup. If at first glance it seemed to you like some utterly ordinary ancient cup, it's not. In fact, it was named after the Spartan king Lycurgus. And you know, among scholars, there are talks that this is one of the most sophisticated items of the ancient Roman era. The cup gained its wide fame because of its optical properties, and I must admit, it's not at all surprising. Why? Simply because the glass from which this unique artifact is made can independently change its hue. For those interested in how this happens, let me explain. It turns out that in transmitted light it becomes a rich red color, while in reflected light it shifts to a deep green. This effect is also called dichroism. Scientists struggled for a long time to unravel the secrets of this unusual ancient Roman item. However, they recently succeeded. It turns out the entire mystery was in the composition of the glass, namely in the nanoparticles of gold and silver. And what's interesting is that they cannot be seen even with special equipment with decent optics. Therefore, scientists used a professional transmission electron microscope. Knowing this, a logical question arises. How then did Roman craftsmen achieve such a peculiar effect if they didn't have such technology? The answer lay on the surface for many years. As it turned out, in ancient times, this happened entirely by accident, as no other similar objects have been created. The mysterious antenna in the waters of Antarctica. According to history, December 1964 marked the peak of the Cold War. It was during this period that an American oceanographic expedition on the vessel Elton was studying the mysterious waters of Antarctica. Then, with the help of specialized equipment, researchers managed to take pictures of a very unusual object. And you know, for many years, rumors about its origin did not subside. It looked like a tall, long stick whose rods extended at exactly 90 degrees. Moreover, there were strange white balls at the ends. And what do you think it could actually be? Write your opinion in the comments under this video. But after the widespread dissemination of photos on the internet, the media started writing about the most diverse versions of its origin. And what I have to tell you, for many years, scientists could not come to a consensus, so to speak. Some were sure that the unusual object was installed by Soviet spies, others spoke of its natural origin, and still others believed that extraterrestrial civilizations were involved. But nowadays, a group of scientists conducted additional necessary research into the depths of Antarctica. As a result, it turned out to be an ordinary carnivorous sponge that grew at a tremendous depth. And this makes sense. After all, agree. Constructing anything in this territory at a depth of 4,000 meters cannot be called a good idea. And it's hard to believe that it could have been placed there by someone. The Baghdad Battery. I think you all have heard of an artifact like the Baghdad Battery. Indeed, it is a real find that was discovered by local archaeologists in Iraq in 1938. Essentially, it consists of 3 main components: a ceramic pot, a copper cylinder, and an iron rod. Presumably, the Baghdad Battery could have been created between 150 and 650 AD. Unfortunately, the exact origin of the artifact has not been determined. However, some scientists still put forth theories that it could be an ancient counterpart of the modern battery. Interestingly, if you pour lemon juice or vinegar into the vessel, it will completely surround both the copper cylinder and the iron rod. The liquid in this case acts as an acidic electrolyte. Consequently, a potential difference arises between the copper and iron, and an electric current appears. However, this version turned out to be unsuccessful. Think about it. Electricity was only invented in the 17th century. Why then would ancient people need something resembling a battery? Therefore, scientists began to delve deeper into the situation. After conducting the necessary analysis of the find, they were able to determine that the Baghdad Battery was a storage place for a papyrus or parchment scroll, and nothing more. This decision was also influenced by the fact that no additional wires or other accompanying devices were found. Elizabeth and Marcy Honge. This story became the most sensational in the 90s. Although there are no unearthed, undiscovered artifacts here, the mystery of this family remained unsolved for a long time. In the end, 73-year-old Robert Honge was finally found guilty of the deaths of his wife, Marcy, and younger daughter, Elizabeth, who lived in Brewster, New York. In the Supreme Court, he was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The eldest daughter, Sheila Honge, recounted that throughout her childhood, she and her 3 sisters and mother endured much torture, beatings, and evil from this man. As it turned out, he took the lives of his wife and daughter, and the crime could not be solved for many years because their bodies could not be identified. Robert himself calmly moved to Dalton, Ohio, where he lived with a new wife and 3 children under a fictitious name, but justice prevailed in the end. The Salzburg parallelepiped. Surely, if you are seeing this object for the first time, you might have thought there was nothing unusual about it. But that's not the case, especially if you know about the estimated 20-million-year-old age of the stone, according to the initial assumptions of scientists. They also proved that the artifact contains metal, and this fact made such a find very interesting. The first version proposed by researchers was that the found object is a meteorite that once fell to our planet. However, since no traces of the stone passing through atmospheric layers were found, this version was quickly refuted. After a longer analysis, scientists managed to determine that it mainly consists of iron and carbon in proportions typical of pig iron. They also speculated that the rough groove with a channel could have been used in ancient times as a counterweight in some mining machine. And it must be said, many believed this until recently. Only a few years ago, new research was conducted on the artifact, which finally clarified everything. As a result, a completely different theory was proven. It turned out that the stone was actually cast not so long ago and was accidentally pressed into brown coal during mining operations or during the transportation of the mined fuel. The London Hammer. In 1936, a married couple, Max and Emma Hahn, while walking around the rocks near the Texas town of London, discovered a very unusual stone. Upon closer inspection, they realized that an iron hammer with a wooden handle was somehow embedded in it. However, how could it end up in a rock that was over 30 million years old? For many years, people believed that the London Hammer had extraterrestrial origins. This was the official version. However, recently scientists decided to revisit the old research findings on the artifact and realized that there was still work to be done. Eventually, they came to a completely different conclusion. As it is known, limestone is a rather fragile rock prone to disintegration. Therefore, it is certain that the hammer has a recent origin. Scientists are confident that it was simply left at a site where limestone accumulated, which, under the influence of rain, formed deposits around it. It is worth noting that similar phenomena are often found around modern objects, like artifacts from World War II. Hearing all this, one might speculate that the London Hammer was dropped or discarded by a local miner or craftsman, and this happened within the last few hundred years. The Nazca Lines. The mysterious lines and figures drawn on the Nazca Plateau in Peru, which many believe to be astronomical tools of the indigenous people, were actually road temples of the Incas. At least, that's what scientists from Canada believe. According to experts, such temples were built at the intersections of important roads in ancient Peru. Peter Bekeles from the University of Toronto recently made a shocking statement. He noted that many of the drawings are located next to the intersections of major ancient roads built by the Incas in the Andes. Therefore, he and his colleagues hypothesized a connection between the roads and the geoglyphs. Subsequent research proved that at the intersections of roads near the drawings, there were stone structures that likely served as chapels. It is worth noting that the desert plateau has a total of 30 images of plants and animals, a couple of hundred geometric figures, and 13,000 lines. Moreover, most of them are visible even from space. The Atacama Humanoid. In 2003, archaeologists in the Atacama Desert discovered a humanoid mummy, which they called the Atacama Humanoid. You'll be surprised, but it was only 15 centimeters long. It had all the features of a developed human being. Additionally, it is interesting that even the hard teeth were preserved, and the head had a very unusual shape, reminiscent of the aliens we are used to seeing on TV screens. UFO enthusiasts even declared this fiend as evidence of alien existence. However, a professor from Stanford University conducted testing of the ancient find using modern methodology. These remains belong to an ancient human, naturally, an infant who was born prematurely and died shortly after birth. That's all for today. Don't forget to like this video and, of course, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.